Hello, and welcome to 2 Minutes with Terry. Today we are going to start a new series on identity. A lot of people want to know who I am and what has God called me to do. Those questions can only be answered when we know who God is. You might think who I am has nothing to do with God, but actually God has everything to do with who you are. So how is this so? Well, according to Genesis 1:26, we are made in his image. So all that he is also on the inside of us. So if we don't know who he is, then we don't know who we are. To get to know ourselves and our identity, we need to know who God is. So my first question to you is, what is your view of God? Maybe this is something you've never thought about before, but this is the key to knowing our identity, because what we believe about God determines what we believe about everything else. Our view of God affects everything that we do. So if we think God is a judgmental God, just sitting in heaven, wagging a judgmental finger at us, then that is the way that we will see everything around us. If we think God is passive and, well, sometimes he does and sometimes he doesn't, then that is the way we will act when situations in our life come up. Maybe we know about God, but we don't really know God because we have been taught a wrong view about who he is and his character. If you sat in church for any length of time, your view of God most likely comes from the pastor or the teacher from the pulpit. And unless this teacher has a correct view of God, then they have passed down their faulty view of God to you. And now your view of God is wrong too. Maybe you've gotten your view of God from your experiences with God, good or bad. And your view of God is now of a God from that experience rather than who he really is. So you see, there are multiple things that can affect our view of God. These things have unfortunately led us down a path to an incorrect or distorted view of God. So at this point, you might be thinking, what is the correct view of God? Well, here's the answer. We must look at Jesus. Colossians 1:15 says he, meaning Jesus, is the exact living image, the essential manifestation of the unseen God, who is the visible representation of the invisible. This verse is saying that Jesus was God manifested. The invisible God now has made himself visible through Jesus. One of the reasons Jesus was sent to earth was to reveal who God our Father is to us. You may have heard the phrase, Jesus is perfect theology. This means we now know God, not just about God, through the person of Jesus and what he did here on earth. So said another way, whatever Jesus did or didn't do here on earth reveals who God is. Jesus is where we get our view of God from. So thank you for joining me on this first part of our identity series. I hope you got a new realization on how to think about God. So join me next time for part 2 of this series. See you then.